Hey, Crispy Crew, welcome back to Crispy Cocktails, where we bring you the best drinks, the best conversations, and get crispy with leaders, coaches, mentors, entrepreneurs, and all-around badasses making waves. If you're loving what we do, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a sip of the action. And while you're at it, check out our website at crispycocktails.com for everything you need. Explore our flavors, find a retailer near you, browse our gallery, and get answers to your top questions. Before we jump in, don't forget to follow, share, and tag us while you sip. Now, let's meet today's guests. Cheers and get crispy. Okay, so I'm sitting here with Tim Willis today, the owner, operator of Chibby Wibbitz. It's the food truck that's actually coming out of Crimson and Gold Tavern. I appreciate you being on today and talking with me. I know that we've been doing business now for, 3 years together?
Yeah, coming up, it's like 2.5, coming on 3 years.
Yeah. And we've leased out the kitchen to you, and you guys are doing your thing out of it. I appreciate you so much. You guys make excellent food. You guys handle the kitchen, keep it super clean, and thank you for just being on today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, and yeah, thanks for working together. It's a very good. I think it's a great working relationship that we've definitely developed.
Yeah, this one's going to be fun today too, because I don't think that I've had anybody that I actually work with. Well, we've had Ryan on, we've had both Ryans on, but you and I doing business together at the location and everything, it's going to be a little bit different, and we can kind of talk about that relationship and partnership a little bit as well. But let's start with your story a little bit. How did you get into the food truck industry?
Okay. I like to say the first time I remember actually wanting to do a food truck was watching Caddyshack 2. It's literally Dan Aykroyd. He's driving around in a food truck, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Having a restaurant on wheels, and I never really thought too much of it. And then I was always in the food industry. First job I had was with the worker's permit when I was 15, working at Pizza Hut. I just always been in the food industry. Went down to college down in Fort Lewis. My roommate, who I lived with down there, I had talked about wanting to have a food truck way back then. This is the 1998 or something like this, well before I knew what I was going to do. He remembered that. Fast forward into like 2009, 2010, I'm working at a pretty horrible job, office job at a collection firm that I'm just calling people and demanding money, and it was beating the life out of me. He hits me up. He's like, hey. He was working at Pepsi. He was the fleet manager. He took care of all the vehicles there. He hit me up. He's like, hey, are you still wanting to do a food truck? It was just really out of the blue. I was just like, wow.
How do you remember that?
I told you that like 10, 11 years ago. He's like, well, dude, I got this opportunity. Come by my work. Went by there. Big old truck that they used to go out for events at, like, say, extreme, or like the Aspen, like, what is the X Games and stuff like that. They would hand out samples of Gatorades or whatever they had then. Had a big DJ stand in it, generator already in it, window already open. He's like, dude, you could totally make this into your food truck. And so he's like, this is coming out of commission. They do a friends and family silent auction. So if you want to get it, you can be my friend, you can get it on it. And so I did. My bid won. And
how much did you get the first food truck for?
I paid $2,700 for it.
Damn, that is awesome. And is it the same truck that you have right now?
It's the same truck.
Yeah.
And when I got it, it only had 39,000 miles on it.
Wow.
39,000. Yeah.
And you were the highest bidder at $2,700.
Yeah. And he told me that. He was like, hey, go. And he did give me a little inside scoop. He was like, the bids are really low. He's like, guarantee if you come in, and also he's also wait until the last day and then come in with a bigger bid. And he's like, I bet you'll get it. And so I did, got it. And the best thing was it was fleet maintained. So every 3 months, even if it hadn't been going out, they're changing the oil, they're doing everything on it. So it's been well taken care of. So I got that. I was still working for the collection company, and so that I had that. My parents live out east in Bennett, east of town. They had 10 acres out there. I just drove it out there and parked there, and I was like, okay, I'll start getting going on this. that was always kind of the back of my mind. Work got worse and worse, and so ended up parting ways with that job. And so I went on to, filed for unemployment. And for unemployment, I just used all my time. I was out at my folks building the truck, putting a kitchen into it, doing all that. And then October of 2013 was my first time out in it. I went out to this kind of like an art walk in the Tennyson area. Some neighborhood friends that I had grown up with that lived across the street, they had a little antique store. So I went up and set up in front of them, and that was kind of like my first get-go into it.
Yeah, that's interesting because my first day here at Crimson and Gold of taking it over was October 1st of 2013.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah, so our entrepreneurship story,
synchronicity there.
Yeah, started in the same month of the same year.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, I'd started a business earlier than that before, but it was more of a side hustle than anything else, and I still had a job. I did it a little bit on my own, but I think that's super cool. So now you've been doing it for 12 years. That's a great story.
Yeah.
And you built out the truck all by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, my dad helped me. My dad's very handy. He was a mechanic. Everything we needed fixed around the house growing up, he fixed. And often I would help him. He was showing me that, so I was able to learn a lot of it and also keep the cost down, buying a lot of stuff at auction to kind of outfit it, get it on the road. And then as I started making more money, I just reinvested back into the truck. It was a great, it really came at the perfect time for me, because I remember my wife telling me when I quit, or when I stopped working at that other place, the next morning I woke up and I'm like making breakfast and I'm whistling and like singing all the songs and everything. And she just walked by and she's like, there you are, like you're back. Like, that's how much that office job had taken from me. I mean, yeah, no insult to everybody that anybody does an office job. It just wasn't for me. I just couldn't handle sitting in a cubicle, staring at a computer most of the time, pretending to do work, because I was when I sit down and work, I get stuff done. And so I'd come in the morning, this is what you're done for the day. I'd be done by like 10:30 or 11. And I'd be asking them, hey, I need more stuff. They're like, we don't have anything. I'm like, okay. And they literally told me, okay, well, just, kind of pretend you're doing work. And that's one of the hardest things in the world for me to do, is to pretend I'm working. Like, it drives me insane.
Yeah, so the corporate job just wasn't in your blood or in your veins.
No. And I think maybe it might have been different, but also the nature of that job was bill collecting, calling people, and then I was on the legal side, and so I was going through files, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, making sure everything's ready to go into court to apply liens on the people. And a lot of them were people that had like medical problems, and that's why they couldn't keep paying. Bills. And you're just like, we're getting ready to go sue someone and put a lien on their house, and all they did was get sick. Yeah. And that just it starts wearing really heavy on your heart.
Yeah, I could see how that wouldn't sit well with me either, especially when you care and have a big heart when it comes to dealing with people. And that can be certainly very draining. And you found something that you loved, took a risk, found a great opportunity, and it looks like it came to you a little bit too. That's nice that your friend called you and told you that was available. You got a steal for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, you said you bought it with 39,000 miles. How many miles does it have on it now?
102.
102,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've almost tripled the miles
Absolutely.
that you have on there now. Have you put a new motor in it or anything?
No. One of the good reasons why I bought it is because it's a nice, straightforward V8 350, very simple.
Yeah.
My dad, those are the kind of stuff that my dad worked on, or I worked on as a kid. And so, I do have, now my mechanic is a regular from here, but that I can rely on. But I always know that if I needed to, I could do something on it.
Yeah.
And a lot of other trucks got diesels and stuff like that, and they're just constantly asking, hey, do you have a mechanic? I'm like, yeah. Does he work on diesels? No. So it's diesels will run for a lot longer, but there's just so much more maintenance and stuff going into them.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to build out a food truck from scratch like you did, what would you tell them?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I would say, first of all, I'd ask them, do you know how to are you handy? Can you build stuff? Do you know how to use a hammer, saw, simple stuff like that? Because I got a lot of reward in it from the sweat equity I was able to put into it.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, like I like doing stuff, completing stuff, getting stuff done. It was hard doing it myself. I definitely have had envy over the years going by truck fabricators and our new trucks coming out, being like, yeah, come check in my truck. And I get in, everything's shiny and just beautiful. I would say if you have the money to invest in your truck and have someone build it, because then you would have warranties and guarantees that if something stops working, you can get that fixed. That wasn't really an option for me. I was at a place personally, financially, that I needed to get out. I needed to get it built, and I needed to start as low as I could. But the sweat equity has paid off. I'm really proud of it. I don't owe anybody, and I haven't owed anybody the entire time. I did take a loan from my father-in-law, real small loan, but it definitely helped me, that I since paid back. But I wasn't beholden on a cold day, snowy day, to go out and make some money because I needed to pay the bank or anything like that. So if that's your approach, I would say yes. The other thing I would say is understand your menu and understand what items you'd want to put in it, because along with those trucks that have all the shiny stuff in them, often they have like 2 ovens and 3 fryers and a broiler and all this stuff, and they don't end up using all of them. So they end up paying a lot of money for things that they don't even need on their truck, because the best way to make money in the truck is getting in front of an audience and pumping out as much as you can in a short amount of time.
In a small space.
Exactly. And the more you crowd it, the more it makes harder, and it also will lead to you maybe having more of a difficult menu than you have that you can get it out. And the biggest thing of that, you have to have a commissary kitchen, which is the relationship we have. I lease the kitchen so I can prepare everything here and have it checked by the health department. You have to have that regardless, and the ones in the city all are decked out with big kitchens and everything you need. So it kind of becomes redundant to have all the stuff that's in your commissary kitchen where you're doing all your prep anyways, to have it in your truck. So that would be my biggest thing. Make sure you know what your menu is and don't over put stuff into your truck. And for multiple reasons. I mean, also adds weight.
Yeah.
And so, your chassis ain't going to be able to hold, 3 2,000-pound ovens,
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting story, and I didn't know that. And I think it's super cool that you built it out. I thought that you bought it like that, like bought a used food truck.
Yeah.
And, it's a great story that you were able to build it out yourself, put out, what you wanted in there. And have you pretty much known or had the same menu since 2013?
It's definitely has changed. I've had a lot of the same items on there. When I first started out, I kind of had more of I was kind of going for a healthier kind of pub style food. Like I've always done the sliders. I didn't originally start with tacos, so it was just sliders, and then I was doing chips and salsa and potato chips, because I didn't have a fryer. It originally did start out with a fryer, and when you start out, you kind of start going to, at least back then, I was when the same time and all the breweries were just exploding everywhere. So it seemed like every week there was a new brewery that you could go to that just opened.
Yeah.
And it was a very good relationship between, I wouldn't say good, but a very working relationship between the breweries and the trucks. And one thing I started to notice after about a year and a half is I was like, oh, well, even when people aren't hungry, they'll come up to the truck and get an order of fries or an order of tater tots or something like that. And so eventually I switched to getting the fryer in there so I could at least have that. And it made a huge difference instantly. And then that kind of changed my menu as far as, like, I used to have these veggie black bean sliders, and I had a vegan sweet potato hash that I did, and a few other vegan loaded nachos, like all these things I was trying to do that had a lot of flavor but weren't heavy. People weren't buying that.
Yeah.
So I quickly changed, and once I put the fryer in, I also brought in tacos at that point, and then when I put the fryer in, I started doing tater tots because I didn't want to do fries. Everyone was doing fries. Did tater tots, and from there I started doing my loaded tater tot bowls. And when I started doing those, that was one of my biggest things that really started taking off.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, what is your biggest seller? Are they the tater tot bowls?
Actually, the biggest seller has always been my pulled pork sliders. Those remain the biggest seller, and just, were from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because they're simple pork, barbecue, slaw, just really nice and simple.
Tell me a little bit about your pulled pork process.
Pulled pork process, okay.
Because your pulled pork is to die for. It's so good. And I know you have an entire process with it.
I do. It's smoked, but I also do a quick smoke. So I do a high temperature smoke. I smoke my pork, do about 120 pounds of pork butt at a time. Smoke it at about 375 for about 3.5 hours. And then I pull it from there. And I also have dripping pans that collect all the drippings from the pork as it renders fat, collect all that, and then I braise it for another 3.5 hours after that. So I can have 120 pounds of smoked pork within about 6-7 hours, whereas most smoked pork is like 10, 12, 14 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of it. I'll put it up against just about any smoked pulled pork out there.
Yeah, it's very good, and it's the reason why it's the number one selling item as well. And I know in dealing in the restaurant industry, you start kind of with a big menu, or at least that's what we did, and then you slowly start to take things away that aren't sellers, and you want to be super efficient, and you don't want to order too many different items, and you want to cross-utilize a bunch of different ingredients, right, so they can be used in other dishes and stuff like that. So I love your menu because it's super simple. Because how many items do you think you have on?
I guess the tacos we have, I would say tacos one item. We just have types of protein.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so my sliders, I have, really two types of sliders. I have a buffalo chicken and a pulled pork, and then my loaded tater tots, which is I have, one type of tater tot that has 3 different types of proteins. But if we're just going like by items, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As far as on the truck, 6 is what I'm usually selling. I also have my key lime pies, and sides of fries and stuff like that. But as actual items, and I do these Korean style fried chicken sandwiches that I do at certain events. Like I do those at the Santa Fe First Friday Art Walk. I do those there, and then Jazz in the Park that I do every Sunday during the summer, because those are the 2 places that really clamor for that.
Yeah.
Other places, since the truck is more predominantly doing private stuff nowadays, so they kind of do a catering menu that I have set, and it's those items, those 5 items, and that covers kind of everything. And the chicken and the pork, it's the same chicken and pork that's used in 3 different ways.
Yeah. It's used in the tacos, it's used in the sliders, it's used in the top bowls.
Right,
So you can cross-utilize.
Yeah, but like you were saying, like my menu started out, I had, when I originally started, I think I had 7 or 8 different sliders. Like I did a smoked turkey summer sausage that I build as, it's something that I cure and smoke myself, and I'll top it with like little mandarin oranges and a horseradish sauce. And to me, it reminded me I did it because every Christmas, my dad would, after we did all the presents and everything, and he finally had a day off from work, he'd get on the couch with his crackers, some summer sausage, and some oranges, because my family is from Southern Florida. My grandmother had always sent us a big box of oranges straight from the tree with key limes in there. And so, I grew up eating key lime pies. That's where my key lime pie recipe comes from. But the memory of my dad eating those oranges and the summer sausage and, falling asleep on the couch, I made that sandwich after that. And I also did a smoked turkey meatloaf, and I used turkey because I wanted it to be just a little bit more leaner. And there was a couple. I had a barbecue chicken. I had a Mexican style chicken sandwich. I had like a New Orleans style pork sandwich. I had quite a few different things that I was losing money on making all these things because just all of them weren't selling.
Yeah.
And so eventually you go through and go, okay, well, here's things that are selling.
Yeah. And it's like, the top 20% of your items make, 80% of your sales or your profits. So you want to minimize that a little bit. We've had to do that multiple times with our menus throughout the years. And now it's so much better because you can handle your menu. I know you added a couple of items just to be here at the Crypto.
Yeah, like appetizers.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Stuff,
which definitely helps with the clientele. Yeah.
Clientele was definitely clamoring for that. And I came in here originally with, okay, here's a truck menu, and and as soon as I added some wings, added fingers and stuff like that, and quesadillas, and those really started getting ordered. Now we do pizza. And
yeah, that's great. I love it. How did you, get into just doing this for so long now, and how do you actually get your events and your customers?
So a lot of my events are repeat. Like say the Santa Fe Art District First Fridays. I've been doing that since my second year. So I've been doing that for 11 years at the exact same.
How did you get that in the first place?
It was a food truck row. It still is. It's just not as big anymore. When I first started, all the trucks were on this. It's kind of the big first coalition of food trucks in Denver. It was started by Vu and Larry. They used to run Manna from Heaven. They are one of the original food trucks in town. So I emailed them, said and got into there, kind of started covering shifts when someone was like, hey, I can't do that first Friday. I got in there, and then after the second year, I did like every other. And then after that, I kind of just took over that spot at 9th and Santa Fe. And that's been my one spot that I've kept, and I've just built up. I go in there. People know us. I've been going to the same spot. People come for us. It's a public sell spot that I can say, hey, when I have private people who are being like, hey, we want to do, we come do our wedding, or come here, we want to taste the food. I can always be like, yeah, we'll always be here first Friday. Come here, meet us. I'll give you some food. You can try it right there. So that one's repeat. Jazz in the Park I've been doing for about 6-7 years. And a lot of my private things are repeat stuff. And then I also work with, there's quite a few booking, as the years have gone on, there's been booking companies that reach out to you and go, hey, we want to bring you in, we'll book a gig. You tell me what they'll send you like, hey, here's, these people are looking for a truck. What would you charge them? You give them your price, and then they will take 10 or 15% on top of that for their booking or something.
Yeah, but that's nice. They set everything up for you and bring people to you, and you can get a lot of repeat customers.
Right.
And then you're meeting a ton of people while you're out and about doing your events.
Right.
Because you'll feed, hundreds of people at one time, and that's a lot of exposure.
100%.
And then those people are having weddings or know somebody else or doing an event or want a food truck for whatever reason, so they can get with you that way. Plus, when you're driving down the street, your truck is a driving billboard and everything too.
Absolutely. And, then like we said, it's a lot of word of mouth. A lot of my business that comes in, especially new stuff, they're like, hey, we were at that event you did last week. We really love the food. If we do that, or, I do a yearly 4th of July party that I have gotten countless jobs from people that have gone to that party, and it seems like every year I get a new person from that party It's like, hey, I need you to come and do it. And there's a lot of word of mouth. I mean, obviously, I also have a website that I have. You go in there, fill out a form, let me know what you're going to do, and then I get a lot of traffic through that as well. And since the landscape here in Denver has changed quite a bit as far as the food trucks. It was so dominant and built around the breweries originally, and then once it got really flooded with food trucks here, and breweries at the same time, it stopped being profitable to go to all these different breweries. Sure, you could fill a week of going out every night, but here you are going out, sitting there for 5 to 7 hours and, making a few $100. And at some point you go, okay, well, did I even break even at that? And that kind of those are the decisions I had to make. And there was a year that I had to stop doing breweries. I used to do them to fill in the blanks, but eventually I had to set a minimum of what I will go out for. And because, the first quite a few years, I was like, yeah, anything.
Yeah.
Please.
Were you working just by yourself too in the first
I started
years?
out, just by myself. My wife was helping me quite a bit. And then within a year and a half or 2 years, neighbor of mine, Chantel, she was like my first employee. She was also the first, she babysit my kids for the first time. She's like, basically family.
Is it the same Chantel who worked here? I think it was.
Chantel that worked here?
This was a long time ago.
No, she never worked actually here.
Okay.
She's only done the truck, and now she only does First Fridays. That's all she does.
Yeah.
So she's kind of, she started working. It was her first job.
Okay.
So when she was 16, that was her first job.
Yeah.
And so that was in 2014. So she's definitely grown and done all that stuff, but she still loves doing that. But a lot of it was me. I was prepping everything. I was cooking everything. And a lot of the events, I was going to breweries and I was working it by myself.
Yeah. Well, that's how you have to get a company to grow, especially being an entrepreneur and going out and doing it yourself. Mm-hmm. And then you found a neighbor that could help you. And, when you started, about how many events would you do a year?
A year? I would say the first few years, I was probably averaging between 3 to 5 events a week, especially.
Would those include the brewery events?
Yeah, those are the brewery events.
Okay.
It was I was building around, every now and then you get a big event that would kind of come in and really help out. But I was on the brewery circuit, and it was draining, and it was also pretty dangerous to be perfectly frank, because you're pulling these breweries, and back then I was drinking a lot of beer, loved beer. Would show up and they'd be like, hey, you're feeding the staff, and they're coming up and be like, hey, can we get a meal? You're like, yeah, sure. And they're like, hey, you want a beer? And so, you learn pretty quick. You're like, okay, this is not a very sustainable relationship, because I'm driving somewhere. So I can't be drinking beer and then driving away. So, and then you'd work at breweries where they were really good. There's a couple breweries around here that you can go in and have a really good day. But those same breweries are also staffed a lot bigger. And so you pull in there and you're feeding, 10 to 12 people. And that hits your bottom end. And then also those breweries that know trucks do really well there also tend to get an attitude that we work for them, and tend to treat you like an employee rather than someone that is working with you to keep people from leaving to go get food.
Yeah.
And so I've, to put it mildly, I have a little bit of authority issues. And so I didn't dig that relationship. And so I quickly stopped working with breweries that were treating me in that sense, not as a partner that we're working together, but as someone that worked for them.
Yeah. And now how many events do you do a year? Roughly?
A year, I would say now I'm right about, I would say the same, about 3 to 5 a week.
But they're much more quality events.
Much more quality events. I have a minimum. And I'm also only going out about April through, probably through till the end of October. And I learned a while ago that that's going out in the winter wasn't worth it. I was going out, I was going to breweries, I was occasionally finding a job, but I'm also standing in my truck when it's 17 degrees out and and wondering, why is no one coming up to my truck? Well, it's freezing cold, and I'm standing there in freezing cold, not making any money, getting mad.
Yeah, with the car on.
Yeah, exactly. And then realize, you know what, it's not even worth it. And so after about 5 years, I finally made the call to stop going out in the winter. One of the best decisions I ever made, because it allowed me, my oldest kid, we had one in 2012, the year before I got the truck out. And so it got to a point where I was able to start during those winter times, spend a lot more time at home, because in the summers, I wasn't there as much, and really sucked. And now also, and it is very much transitioned very well, because now come mid to end October, the hockey season's going on here.
Yeah.
And so I get to transition straight from the truck going into the hockey season in the college season for DU, which keeps us busy going through the entire winter.
Yeah, and the school year for that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so your business is seasonal, but you found a good way to make it more, consistent and steady throughout the year by having the commissary kitchen. And that's why our relationship works so well too.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, it's hard to run a kitchen, and it's difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially in this town and area, and competition's high.
Right.
But having to staff a kitchen, having to buy all the product, having to prep everything, having to keep the kitchen open. I mean, that's where I really, when COVID hit, I really, kind of joke about it, but I say COVID killed Crim's Kitchen, because I had to move people from here over to other locations because they were doing more food and we were losing money and we were having difficulty. So we kind of did the same thing that you were doing, like looking at breweries, and I said, this is the minimum that we have to do in the kitchen to keep it open. And we weren't close to that. And so we had to move people around. We were struggling. And so meeting you and having you come in, and you've got your side gig, well, I shouldn't say side gig, but this kind of is your side gig. You've got your food truck full time doing that and your business. So you can piggyback it and make it just like extra gravy on top of everything, which actually works out really well. And I wish that I could do it for my other sports bar. So, because it's such a great relationship to not have to worry about it. And you've just done such a good job. So I feel spoiled in that sense. But I think that it's a great business model for both sides.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly why this came to be is, through a mutual friend.
Yeah, definitely.
We were talking, me and you were sitting there on a back porch.
At a bachelor party.
Discussing the trials and tribulations of going through COVID.
Yeah.
And I had to leave that bachelor party early because
to go do an event.
I didn't have to go to bed. I had to move out of my commissary kitchen because
that's right.
The owner decided to sell it and didn't give us any notice. And then the people that moved in, they're like, you guys have to be out of here at the end of the month.
Yeah.
I found that out.
What's funny about that is we talked about it at that event, and then it wasn't probably for 6 months until I called you and was
Correct.
like, okay, are you ready to actually come in here? Because I was still teeter-tottering.
Yeah, because you were getting ready to try.
Yeah, because we were gonna get back into it.
Trying to kitchen again. Yeah.
And what's funny is, it's just you have to roll with it. You have to adjust. You got to tweak things. You got to do what's best for the business ultimately.
100%.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is when you called me, I had just went and finished a tour of Denver Commissary. That was a new commissary I was going to move into. And I literally walked out. You called me and you were like, hey, you still interested in that? And I was like, yeah. You're like, we got a hockey weekend this weekend. You want to come check it out? I was like, yeah, what time do you want me there?
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, let's do it.
It's funny how life goes when it
works
comes to
out,
those things. Yeah.
And that's kind of one thing I've always been is, part of my story, as you see, is, yes, you got to know things, learn stuff, have opportunities, but it's a majority of things in my life is about who you know. And that's certainly come to fruition here, is like knowing Derek, and then knowing you is an opportunity that came for me. Knowing and having that roommate down at Durango was why I had the food truck opportunity. So you know, it's a lot of who you know and the relationships you make to be able to continue to flourish. Because you know, a lot of people like to say, you know, self-made man, self this, all that. You know, I don't really believe in that. Everybody has a support system at some point, no matter where even if it is, you know, even if you don't have a big support system, you still had, you know, there was a support system that made the roads and the cars and stuff for you to get to be able to do what you did. There's still so much stuff. There's so much underneath the little things that make us all have the opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point there as well. And you can't build anything spectacular or great without a team around you.
100%.
And if you want to be super successful and you want to grow and you want to have more cash flow, you've got to have a good support system.
Yeah.
Right? And you were doing it by yourself. You know, it took you a year and a half to have your first employee, and now you have what, probably 4 or 5 employees?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm running with 5. And sometimes it gets bigger, but we're pretty dialed in on and we don't. They all split kind of hours. I have one really good employee, Jonah, who's basically like, you know, my general manager or whatever. He runs a truck, and then in the winter he's running the kitchen, and you know, also DJs and does stuff here as well. He kind of does everything, and I rely on him tremendously. He's the best employee I've ever had. He's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's great. Love Jonah. He is a great person, great employee to have, great worker, and that's why, again, you want to surround yourself with quality people all around. It makes life easier, makes the business better, and you can do more stuff out of it. Where do you I wanted to touch on this, where do you see yourself going, you know, in the future, and ultimately what is your kind of end goal that you want to do with your company and your business? Because I don't know if you wanted to set up more food trucks, you wanted to have your own restaurant, if you wanted to keep going down that path and just continue to grow, or are you kind of happy with where you're at?
You know, I am happy where I am. I'd love to continue. I'd like to have, there's another concept that I'd really like to get on the road. I'd like to, you know, maybe have 2 trucks operating my the Chibby Wibbitz model, and then I have a different concept that I'd really like to get out there as well. And I'd like to I don't think I'd ever, you know, I think when I first came in here, you had, you know, 3
locations,
Goat, you had this, sports. Like, I don't know if I'd want that much. I think I'd like one central, maybe like Chibby Wibbitz or something, where I also did the commissary and I could do the food trucks out of, and maybe something along these lines where it's, you know, a little bit of a nightlife, maybe they have some live music or something like that. Nothing essential, nothing really big. And as long as I can provide for my family, provide everything they need as far as, you know, playing sports and school and all of that, which right now I'm able to do. But it's something that my wife, you know, we've talked about. I don't have like a clear understanding or goal of what I really want on that. I know I want to keep growing, but I also don't want to be completely spread thin.
Yeah.
To where I'm not working, I'm getting worked, so to speak, you know.
Yeah. What does your wife think about that? Does she want you to continue to grow and get bigger and do those things, or does she want you to have more time at home?
That's a great question. It's you know, she wants it to grow, but at the same time, she likes the ability that I have during the winters where I have more time around, and I can set my schedule, so to speak, you know, and be there. And then she's also, you know, we had our first kid, and then we had a boy. 4 years after that, she's like, hey, let's try for that girl.
Twin boys.
Yes. And so, you know, and it was that pregnancy was really hard on her. And as twin pregnancies usually are really hard on the body. And so she had some, she's spent some time recovering from it and had some medical things that she's really getting over. And she also made the decision to, okay, I'm going to be here and be with the kids. So, you can work on Chibby and get that established and everything. And now she is, the kids, the twins are 7, almost 8. Oldest just turned 13. So find at a point where they're not needing everything. They can, you can wake up in the morning, you can actually sleep in until 8 because they can get their own bowl of cereal. And so now that we're at that point, she's able to dive back into, she does a lot of financial coaching and cash money flow advising and stuff like that.
And she helps you in your business and all of that stuff.
She takes care of all the admin side. She does all the taxes, she does the payroll, she does that stuff for me, which is huge. And because I'm a food guy, and I got political science and history degrees, and at one point I thought I was going to be a professor, and I think a little bit more that way. And then the one thing I was never good at was math and numbers. She is a whiz at it, and so it's a great relationship in that way, because that stuff just bogs me down. And I was and doing that when it first started out, all the admin work I was doing was happening late at night. I was working a shift at a brewery, coming home, getting home after unloading, cleaning, dishes, all that, getting home at 10:30, 11, and then I'm up till 1 or 2 in the morning answering emails, paying bills, doing all that stuff. And so she definitely has taken a load off of that. And now it's kind of transitioning to that she kind of gets her moment now that I kind of have a set thing, and I can also have some staff that I can rely on too, that I can be around with the kids.
Yeah, and it's nice because you've built that foundation. Right? And now you can kind of reap the benefits of it.
Because it wasn't there at all.
Yeah, definitely not there.
It wasn't
and none
there
of us
before.
have that when we start out our entrepreneurship.
That's the hardest part is, I was fortunate enough. I mean, and I'm not going to, obviously there was some, pushing and pulling, and, it wasn't always
smooth sailing.
It wasn't all smooth sailing, but it was good to have an incredible partner who was there to work through all that with me.
Yeah.
And that I could really rely on. And that was huge.
Yeah.
And I really, and so it'll be nice. Ideally, I'd like to have kind of where I am, maybe that another truck and another concept, two or three trucks total that I could probably run pretty well. And then my wife doing her thing, and then having a really joint income coming in that we're both really participating in. It's not all on one person, because it's been on me for quite a few years while she's been doing everything at home. That's not, obviously that's a huge role, raising the kids, being there, all that.
Yeah, that's really the tough job.
It's a huge job. But that's not to take away of the burden that all the bills are kind of on you. Those are things that'll keep you up at night sometimes too. It'll be nice to hopefully get to a place where that's not, it's more shared as far as, okay, cool, this is coming in, rather than because those are they're hard things to work through, but it's cool to have someone that supports that completely.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love the most. One of the things about being an entrepreneur is being able to provide for my family and as a man, because I think that all of us innately have that desire, as men that want to be protectors, that want to provide for our families, 100%. That want to take care of the kids, that want to, support. And so, and that gives you the freedom to, do what you want. But it does take a lot of pressure and a lot of stress in order to, make payroll and to provide for your family and make sure all the bills are paid. So, mentally, it can be very daunting and difficult to deal with all that stress and everything. What's your favorite thing about being an entrepreneur?
I think it kind of goes back to my authority issue. I really like working for myself. I as much as sometimes I hate it that it falls on me, I do like that. I like being like, okay, well, I got to figure it out. I like figuring things out, getting it done. I like being able to know that, I'm kind of the one picking the direction.
Yeah.
And also the money I'm making, I'm not working my ass off for someone else.
Yep.
That I really, really, really like that. I also like this specific job because every day, at least when I was going out in the truck all the time, I'm not in there as much. I do go to the bigger events to help out and stuff like that. But even for my police, like, you're going to a different spot each time. You are seeing a new, you're not going to the same office, the same
it's not redundant.
It's not redundant. So it does keep it fresh. And also, as far as this one thing I love the most is how much when you feed someone good food, it's
rewarding.
It's incredibly rewarding because they will say, "Hey, this food is awesome. It's some of the best I've had," and it's genuine. It's prime. It's one of the things like a lot of people like to say the oldest occupation in the world is something else. In my opinion, I think someone might have traded some labor or something to eat or survive before they traded for that. That's just my opinion, but it's something that we have to do. We have to eat to survive, and people have good food. They genuinely, you can see it on their face, and when they come and thank you, those are the huge things.
If you could give yourself a piece of advice 12, 13 years ago when you were starting out and going to buy your food truck and go on your entrepreneurship journey, what is one thing that you wished you would have known back then that you do know now?
I think probably two things. One, as discussed earlier, don't drink as many beers at those breweries. But I think,
yes, do not drink and drive. Do not drink Krispies and drive.
Drink and drive.
Yes.
Drink responsibly. It would be it's kind of a two-tier thing. Know your value, and by that I mean I was always scared to put a minimum about what I needed to go out, because I thought, I'd lose that gig if I was like, hey, I need this amount of money to come out. The truth being, the reality of it was, once I set that minimum, it showed to potential clients that I understood my value, and I understood what I had, and that I needed this for me to come bring it to you. And that in turn translated to much better jobs, much better income, and much better clients. And I think all along that line, I think the other thing that my dad told me getting into it, and of course I've always learned stuff the hard way, but time is money. I used to drive around town because this one product was a little bit cheaper or something like that, and I go to 50 different stores. Now I consolidate it because, it might be a little bit more expensive here, but I don't have to drive over there. Little things like that to make the choices of how to be more efficient and use money, because, one thing's for certain, you got to spend money to make money. And you got to be willing to do that. And that was a hard thing for me to get over starting out, because I didn't have a lot in the bank. And so I was always looking at, I don't have that. Not always going, okay, if I take that out, I'm going to replenish it with more.
Yeah.
And those would probably be my two biggest things that I would say.
Yeah, those are definitely good tidbits to add to there. And I'm like you, I learned everything the hard way. And I think you're dead on with your return on time, the ROT.
Yeah.
Right? People don't see what they're putting their time into a lot. And just know that, you build onto something, build a foundation, get you a food truck, and then you are able to provide for your family. You are able to, take care of everything that you need to, and it really is a testament to you. I love the fact that we get to work together. I think that you're doing a great job. thank you so much for taking care of the kitchen here at the Crimson and Gold Tavern.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity, man.
Yeah.
I love this relationship.
I do too.
And I think it's working out well. And it's
good bromance.
It is a good bromance, and it's growing too. I mean,
for sure.
The from the first year to this year, the food sales are definitely going up, and I think it works out pretty well.
We kind of finished with the last question here on the show. Okay. We asked everybody, what is your favorite flavor of the crispy cocktails?
The tropical smash.
Hey, that's my favorite. Why is it your favorite? Because it tastes the best.
Because it tastes the best. Yeah. I remember when you came by and we were trying all these.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, I just remember that one just being like, I remember tasting that being like, ooh, I could crush quite a few of these sitting on a patio, just enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah, so cool. Well, thank you so much, Tim, for being here.
My pleasure.
I appreciate your time. Yeah. Hopefully this is just another step in our long journey together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool,
man.
Thank you.
Get Christmas.